Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my future card Buddyfight Gal Mikado Drum Bunker Dragon Season 1 deck profile for January 2024. I still have a very big soft spot for future card Buddyfight in my heart, and while we're transitioning between the two different format changes for Cardfight Vanguard, where the ride deck and the main deck will be changing in numbers, where you'll have 50 cards in the main deck and 4 in the ride deck, I didn't want to make any outdated Cardfight Vanguard deck profiles in the meantime, but I figured I was looking back on future card Buddyfight, and I never actually made a deck profile for the Drum Bunker Dragon deck, which this deck focuses on just, remade versions of Gal Mikado's cards that he used all throughout Season 1 with their most up-to-date forms in a deck that would sort of mirror what Gal would have ran in Season 1 with all of his many different cards, including Drum Bunker Dragon, Systemic Dagger Dragon, and even his Gargantua Punisher impact card as well. So I wanted to give you all a deck profile. As I said, I still love future card Buddyfight, so if I can update any decks or give you new deck profiles that some of you may enjoy, definitely let me know. Also would maybe like to start filming some other ones on the channel, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with our Buddy Monster, and our flag being Dragon World, and our Buddy Monster being Drum Bunker Dragon Revival Buddy. I'd say it's the most faithful adaptation of Drum Bunker Dragon for the deck, using versions of Drum that were from the original series, along with our Buddy in the deck. We are running 4 additional copies of this card as well, so 4 copies of Drum Bunker Dragon Revival Buddy. The call cost is paying 1 gauge and putting the top card of your deck into its soul. When you take damage, if this card's in the soul of a monster with Drum in its card name, you may choose up to 1 monster in your opponent's field, pay 1 gauge, and put the chosen card into the drop zone, getting around a good number of different card abilities by having a Vanity Husk Destroyer-like ability in the form of just when you take Drum Bunker damage while this card is on the field. And having a counter of Drill Ram Bunker of Bonds. During your turn, call up to 1 monster with Drum in its card name from your deck on top of this card without paying its call cost. Shuffle your deck, then take 1 damage. You may only use this ability once per turn. So you can even just call another copy of Drum Bunker Dragon Revival Buddy on top of this card, taking the damage and then also activating the Send ability of this card as well. Also having double attack and Soul Guard for a 5k monster with 3 damage. Hits for some pretty big damage to begin with. It's just the Soul Guard you want to be able to use to protect this card on top of everything else. We also run 2 copies of Future Powers Drum Future Limit Break. Its call cost is putting 1 or more monsters from your field into this card's soul and paying 2 gauge. When this card link attacks, destroy all cards in your opponent's field and draw cards and deal damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards destroyed. So this card is just another target to be able to call on top of Revival Buddy Drum Bunker Dragon to then have a better link attack option thanks to this card, having the 11k power as well as an added power boost compared to our original Revival Buddy to attack with. And then the other form of Drum that I run is the 2 copies of Paramount Neo Dragon Drum the Maximum Future. Its call cost is putting this card on top of a monster with Drum and paying 2 gauge, but if you use Drum Bunker Dragon, you don't have to pay the call cost for any of the 2 drums that we use, and if it link attacks, this card's attack cannot be nullified. So just a way to hit for bigger damage, having Penetrate as well, to hit a monster in the center with Soul Guard, to then hit those numbers, and then having Soul Guard on top of it for you to be able to protect this unit for the link attacks it can do with your other cards. For some of the backup monsters that we run, I also run 4 copies of Comrade Systemic Dagger Dragon. Its call cost is putting the top card of your deck into its soul and paying 1 gauge. When this card attacks, if you have another monster with Systemic or Drum in its card name on your field, destroy a monster in your opponent's field and gain 2 life. So having Soul Guard, it could be a perfect card to link attack with Drum Bunker Dragon, giving you that life gain, but also being able to destroy another card while your other Drum can be able to send another card from the field, going around some of the particular monsters that may be a little more difficult to get rid of while using these cards as that added bonus play. We're also running the 4 copies of Drum the Kid, the child of Drum Bunker Dragon. Its call cost is paying 1 gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul. At the start of your attack phase, if an originally sized 2 monster with Drum and its card names on your field, draw a card, and for this turn, this unit gets plus 10,000 power and critical +1. Being a size 1 monster, it's another great option for, being able to link attack with Drum with a double attack option. And counter, you can call up to 1 size 2 monster with Drum and its card name from your drop zone to another area by paying its call cost. You may only use this ability once per turn, but still, you can just grab your Revival Buddy from the drop zone as well. So it's a definite 4 of just having this card as an option to just fill up your field with other, usable monsters to then power up the same combo plays that we mentioned before. With all the size 2 and size 1 monsters running, just to have a full field power play, we're also running 4 copies of Boomerang Dragon Returns. At the end of the battle, this is card attacked. You may put this card from your hand into your gauge. If you do, draw a card and return this card to the hand. So you put a card from your hand into the gauge after this card attacks. Being able to return this card to the hand, which can also help to clear up your center to give you a draw, as well as giving you more gauge to use for some of your other cards that may require you to call for the cost of a specific card that you may want to call out. And also running 3 copies of Thunder Flash Swordsman Billion Rapier with a call cost of pay 1 gauge. While this card attacks and deals damage to your opponent, if you have an item equipped, you draw a card. So draw power and another size 1 on top of the double attack. Your ideal play position is to have that size 1 on the field along with a variant of Drum Bunker Dragon, and then the Boomerang Dragon Returns on the center to then attack with this card, returning it to the field, having the link attack options with your other cards. If they have double attack, all the better to make the benefit of those link attacks, and then attack with our potential item that we may also have equipped, which we're running 1 copy of Extreme Dragon Sword Drago Braver and 1 copy of Crimson Iron Fist Drago Knuckle, having more of a Soul Guard option, but also penetrate plays depending on the different item that you have equipped thanks to this card. Moving on now to the spells that we run. For more gauge setup, I run 3 copies of Dragonic Charge Plus. Put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. Then if you have 5 life or less, put the top 3 cards of your deck into your gauge. You may only cost this card once per turn, but gauge is very important for all of the different monsters that we may call out in this deck. They all require at least 1 gauge and then an additional setup of the top card of our deck into the soul. So Dragonic Charge Plus, if we're low on life, just gives us that added bonus to be able to use. And also for more protection from our opponent's attacks, 3 copies of Drago Desperate. You pay 1 gauge, take 1 damage to rest a size 2 or less monster or item on your opponent's field. So if you take the damage as well, you can enact your Drum Bunker Dragon Revival Buddy to send a card on your opponent's field to their drop zone as well, thanks to this card, even on your opponent's turn, just by paying a gauge and taking a damage. And also 2 copies of Dragonic Force Field. You pay 2 gauge for this turn. Monsters on your left and right cannot be destroyed. So if you have the Drum Bunker Dragon in the size 1 setup that I mentioned before, this card can just help to protect those monsters since they cannot be destroyed. They cannot be destroyed by battle or by card abilities that your opponent may have as well. For more defensive plays, since our center most of the time will be open, 4 copies of Blue Dragon Shield. More gauge setup, just like with Dragonic Charge Plus, just having your center open so it can block a good variety of different attacks. And also 2 copies of Dragonic Exchange to be able to look at our gauge if we use Dragonic Charge Plus, getting some vital cards back to our hand for us to use as well. For the next spot, I wanted to run 3 copies of Drago Revival. I have 1 additional spot for Drago Desperate here, but you can always put in another copy or just run the 4th copy of Drago Desperate for the spot with Drago Revival. You may only cast it if there are 5 more different armor dragons in your drop zone. You gain 4 life, giving you more, of that revitalization to your life that you may need with all the damage you'll take from some of your other cards as well. Also, 2 copies of Dragonic Grimoire. If you have 5 life or less, drop all your hand cards and draw 3 cards. So it could just be the 3 cards needed to finish off the play you may want on your field to begin with. And also 2 copies of Evolution Future. This could be another potential 4 of. If you wanted to run, you could just drop another copy of Drago Desperate and maybe even a copy of Dragonic Grimoire. It's more of a 1 of tech to at least attempt in the deck. But with this card's counter, during your turn, if a monster with Drum and its card name is on your field, put this card into the soul of a monster in your field and draw a card. And during an attack on your opponent's turn, if this card's in the soul of a monster, you may pay 1 gauge. If you do, nullify the attack and deal 1 damage to your opponent. So just a better way to protect yourself using your own monsters and this card on the field as well. The final card that we run in the deck is our Impact, which is Gargantua Punisher Revival Buddy. Just with the 4 gauge cost, it deals an immense amount of damage to your opponent, dealing 8 damage to your opponent. This card cannot be nullified. Its damage cannot be reduced as well. You have a big heavy hitter thanks to this Impact being one of the last Revival Buddy cards that we got to begin with in the game, but a definite 4 of, because once again, this could be your answer if you have your gauge already. The setup as well, and having attacked during this fight being the requirement that you need as well to then swing against your opponent to finish off the game. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, it's been a good while since I've done a deck profile for Future Card Buddyfight on the channel, but I hope you all enjoyed it. We aren't really, ever going to get any more support for this in the English TCG format, but I love to be able to share some of the deck profiles that at least went over my head when it came to showing them on the channel, and I hope you all enjoyed them as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.